Gabby Press commentary on Substack article by Theophilus Chilton. The right has a Republican's problem. Saboteurs within do more damage than opponents without. Gabby Press analysis and commentary on the absence of red state citizen political leadership. December 15, 2025. Introduction to Chilton's article. Chilton, a modern-day neo-Ciceronian philosopher, often writes about the absence of moral values and the vacuum of ethical rules in contemporary American society. He pines for the days of yore when the issue of social justice and the public good, or commonwealth, were widely discussed. His subheading for his Substack page is, "What, indeed, is a state, if it is not an association of citizens united by law?" The old Latin term for commonwealth, or the social public good, is res publica, and Gabby Press shares Chilton's concern for identifying the res publica in American society today. Gabby Press differs slightly from Chilton's emphasis on citizens being united by law, and substitutes the idea that red state citizens are united by the 1776 common moral values and the ideology of individual liberty. In today's Substack article, Chilton wanders into the deep weeds of criticism of the Republican Party, making the point that there are 80 million red state conservatives, which is not the same thing as 80 million Republican voters. Here are some excerpts from Chilton's Substack article. Quote, "So what's the solution? The Republicans are absolutely abysmal at doing anything for their putative base, almost as if they don't want to dirty their hands with something as tawdry and plebeian as giving the voters what they want. They will never fail to choose the cowardly path of going back to the camp. They're simply not a serious political party anymore. If the GOP seems like it can't offer anything but policy solutions that were last viable around 1995, that's because these GOPers themselves are still stuck in 1995. There's no real reason why the 75 million people who voted for Trump can't create a parallel organization to hollow out the GOP." End quote. Gabby Press commentary and analysis of Chilton's article. In the Gabby Press book, A Civil Dissolution, we wrote about defining the res publica of American society. We explained that Madison's Constitution contained a fatal defect for protecting the national economic sovereignty of the United States because his rules were designed to handle the problem of an unjust and overpowering majority of common, red state citizens who were using their state governments to oppress the property rights of the minority natural aristocracy. Madison's defect continues to create a threat to liberty because the financial interests of the new American ruling class are disconnected from the will of the people, and Madison's Constitution contains no mechanism for common citizens to re-establish the consent of the governed. The government, in the hands of the American ruling class, has a will of its own, and that will serves the interests of large global corporations, who seek to bend the flow of income from the global value chains to themselves. We argue that Chilton's solution of modifying the Republican Party, and then reverting to Madison's Constitution, today, will not resolve the Constitution's absence of national res publica. In The Constitutional Convention of 1787, a biographical dictionary, Joseph C. Morton, writes about the social class unity of the natural aristocracy in Madison's day. He writes, quote, "The aristocracy was, from the uppermost economic, political, and social strata of American society, they were an exceedingly homogeneous group regarding most economic, social and political matters." 9. End quote. Jacob T. Levy, in Beyond Publius, quotes Jefferson. Quote, "Large republics could better protect freedom than a small one, but only if, and in part, because of it was organized with both separation of powers and federalism. State sovereignty, when all government, domestic and foreign, in little as in great things, shall be drawn to Washington as the center of all power, it will render powerless the checks and balances provided one government on another, and will become as venal and oppressive as the government from which we separated." End quote. In contrast to Chilton's observation that a republic is held together by citizen allegiance to obey the rule of law, we counter that citizens in a large republic are held together by a common set of cultural and moral values, commonly called white Western civilization values of individualism. The issue today, in America, is that the natural aristocracy possesses a coherent social class globalist ideology of using government to benefit their own social class, while red state citizens do not have any coherent social class ideology and no leadership. Changing the Republican Party without changing the Constitution changes nothing about Madison's defect. The Gabby Press red state solution to the Democrats' cultural terrorism. In Beneficial Economics, a red state citizen's guide to crafting a better constitution when the government fails the citizens, our starting premise is that the government has failed the citizens. Chilton continues to cling to the hope that this government can be salvaged, and hints darkly of a civil war. A better idea than a civil war is a civil dissolution, and we agree with Chilton that there is nothing stopping 80 million red state citizens from creating a new government. The ideological differences between citizens in red states and citizens in blue states are irreconcilable. The best, most peaceful solution is civil dissolution, and red states starting over, at 1776, with a new constitution for red state citizens. The path forward for red state citizens. We offer a better solution than Chilton's idea of red state citizens taking over the Republican Party. The problems in American society are much deeper and more complex than can be solved by the institutional Republican Party. The better solution for red state citizens is political decentralization, as in George Mason's state sovereignty model, and economic decentralization as in Jefferson's entrepreneurial capitalist society. Obtaining that solution would be easier if neo-Ciceronians would direct their energy and attention to leading the social class movement back to the white Western civilization moral values of individualism. About Gabby Press. Gabby is the imprint publisher of books and blogs about topics related to American economic liberty and how fair constitutional rules create mutually beneficial financial outcomes for middle and working class citizens. Our website offers an educational gathering place for ordinary common citizens to understand the urgent issues that confront the economic and political reality in the U.S. today. www.gabbypress.com